Good morning. Good morning and Happy New Year. It is so good to see you. I see a lot of people on this side, not many people at all on this side except for Nathan, and I believe we have a couple hundred people online. We're live streaming, so welcome in person and online. On behalf of First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus, I'd like to welcome you. I'm Reverend Dr. Marian Stewart. It is my pleasure to serve this congregation as senior minister. Let's begin our time together by acknowledging the land which holds us, home of the Adena, the Hopewell, the Wyandotte, the Miami, the Seneca, and the Cayuga. Gathered here and online, may we be grateful, thoughtful, and humble. To begin our service with this month's theme, Living with Intention, I invite you to think about not just who was here before, but also where we come from. Nathan? Thank you, Nathan. Whether you are joining us in person or online, welcome. This is a time of continued pandemic, and we hope that this service finds some hope, healing, or whatever it is you need as we go into this new year. If you consider yourself a visitor, and we have several visitors here today, actually a lot of visitors, welcome. We're so glad you're here. We have a welcome center in our welcome hall, although most of our staff is still on holiday. But if you will fill out a card at the welcome table or click the QR code, you can check in online so that you can get on our email list so that you can be aware of what we're doing. But we are so glad you are here. Don't forget that you can access our order of service, Joys and Sorrows form, and donation page by scanning the QR code that's on the screen behind me. And just so everyone knows all at the same time, we all know the pandemic numbers are awful and they're rising. This church will take Sunday services online for the rest of January, beginning next week. We are trying to keep everyone safe and healthy, and it's a hard thing to do right now. But that's what we're gonna do. We will send you the link in our Sunday reminders, so make sure you sign up so you get the link. It'll be on our YouTube website, our YouTube page, First UU Columbus, and we will send that out to you. But starting next Sunday, our services for January will go online until the numbers start to climb down. We will keep you posted on that. If you're here in person, I've spoken to some of you already. You are welcome at any point in the service to walk the Labyrinth. The entrance is on my far side right here. You're welcome to walk at any point in time or after the service as well. A new year also means a new month and a new monthly theme. January's theme is Living with Intention. It is a time of setting intentions for the new year, and it's a holiday tradition at First UU. We have an ancestor-honored way to celebrate and center ourselves. The large labyrinth right here in this wonderful sanctuary has been set up for you to experience. While this is the last day till noon to walk the labyrinth, we hope you will take advantage of what it has to offer. As you move through the circuitous path as it goes around and around and in and out, don't worry, you cannot get lost. You can walk, you can dance, you can meditate, whatever it is you need to do. The labyrinth helps us to remember the past, hold the present, and engage the future. A special thank you to everyone who helped set it up and take it down, and for all the hosts and musicians that helped us this week. To begin our service of Living with Intention, I invite you to think about not just who was here before, but where we come from. And to help us, we'll begin with a chant. You'll find it in our teal hymnal, number 101003. I don't know if you will really need it, but you're welcome to look and find it. If you're at home, chant out loud. If you're in person, I invite you to sing it loud in spirit, but softly or even hum, sharing your love, but not your breath. Our opening chant, Where Do We Come From?
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?
If you are joining us online, I invite you to bring your chalice close so that we can light our flame together. In honor of the journey of life, we light our chalice this morning with the words from T.S. Eliot. We shall not cease from exploration, and at the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Our chalice is lit. There's no Sunday school today due to the holiday break, but I'd like to tell you a story. I'm not Amber, but here we go. The story today is about a labyrinth. Life is going along just fine, then all of a sudden something bad happens. You have to struggle to survive, and on the other side, well, let's just say sometimes it looks a little bit different. The story today is not quite about a labyrinth like specifically, but you can get the idea here. The story is The Paper Bag Princess. You might have read it. I know some of our kids really know this story. It's written by Robert Munch and illustrated by Michael Marchenko. It seems that Elizabeth was a beautiful princess. She lived in a castle and had expensive princess clothes. She was going to marry a prince named Ronald. Unfortunately, a dragon smashed her castle, burned all of her clothes with its fiery breath, and carried off Prince Ronald. Elizabeth decided to chase the dragon and get Ronald back. She looked everywhere for something to wear, but the only thing she could find that had not been burnt was a paper bag. So she put the paper bag on and followed the dragon. He was easy to follow because he left a train of burnt forest and horse bones. And finally, Elizabeth came to a cave with a large door that had a huge knocker on it. She took hold of the knocker and banged and banged and banged on the door. The dragon snuck out his nose. He snuck it out the door and said, "Well, princess, I love to eat princesses, but I've already eaten a whole castle today. I'm a very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." He slammed the door so hard and fast that Elizabeth almost got her nose caught. Then Elizabeth grabbed the knocker and banged on the door again. The dragon snuck his nose out the door and said, "Go away. I love to eat princesses, but I've already eaten a whole castle and I'm so busy, just go away." And Elizabeth said, "This is true. Is it true that you can burn up 10 forests with your fiery breath?" "Oh, yes," said the dragon. And he took a huge deep breath and breathed out so much fire that he burned up 50 forests. That's a fiery dragon. "Fantastic," said Elizabeth. And the dragon took another huge breath and breathed out so much fire that he burned 100 forests. "Magnificent," said Elizabeth, and the dragon took another huge breath, but this time, nothing came out. The dragon didn't even have enough fire left to cook a meatball. And Elizabeth said, "Dragon, is it true that you can fly around the world in just 10 seconds?" "Why, yes," said the dragon, and jumped up and flew away all the way around the world in just 10 seconds. He was very tired when he got back, but Elizabeth shouted, "Fantastic, do it again." So the dragon jumped up and flew around the world in just 20 seconds. When he got back, he was too tired to talk, and he laid down and went straight to sleep. Elizabeth whispered very softly, "Hey, dragon." But the dragon didn't move at all. She lifted the dragon's ear and put her finger right inside his ear, and then she shouted as loud as she could, said, "Hey, dragon!" The dragon was so tired he didn't even move. Elizabeth walked right over the dragon and then right over the top of this dragon and opened the door to the cave. And there was Prince Ronald. He looked at her and said, "Elizabeth, you're a mess. You smell like ashes, your hair is tangled, and you are wearing a dirty old paper bag. Come back when you're dressed like a real princess." "Ronald," said Elizabeth, Your clothes are really pretty, and your hair is very neat. You look like a real prince, but you are the worst. They didn't get married after all. The end. In this story, Princess Elizabeth pulls off a fantastic rescue of Prince Ronald, but ends up leaving their plans behind. Sometimes things don't go as planned, and sometimes, even though change is hard, we get a chance at a new and better life. I invite you to reflect on what challenges you might be facing, and on the changes that might be coming your way, changes that are for the better, that might change your life. Thank you, Nathan. Long before its official beginning, the labyrinth existed. The twisting and turning labyrinthine design is older than most of the myths and stories told about it. Over the course of human history, labyrinths and mazes have official beginnings in 6 major historical periods, including the Bronze Age, the Roman, medieval, Renaissance, and Victorian periods, and our current period, beginning in the late 1960s. It has been noted that each of these periods was marked by rapid change. But well before these official beginnings, labyrinths were etched onto Neolithic rock outcroppings and on the walls of tombs and caves as early as 3000 BCE. In Stone Age cave drawings, labyrinths were interspersed with depictions of animals, plants, and humans, and were an integral part of the story being told. Because it's the earliest known symbol representing something other than self or surroundings, some experts consider the labyrinth to be the earliest art form. Labyrinths and mazes have been found on almost every continent and in many civilizations. Labyrinths and mazes have been discovered in Peru, Iceland, Crete, Egypt, and India. They are also in Sweden, England, France, and North America, including the Hopi Indian civilization in the American Southwest. Until recent times, the terms labyrinth and maze were almost interchangeable. Today, we recognize the maze as having many twists and turns, often ending abruptly with no way out except to retrace your steps in retreat. You may remember from ancient lore that Daedalus built the first maze as a prison from which he and his son Icarus escaped. Icarus, being young and invincible youth, flew too close to the sun where his wax wings melted and he fell into the sea. Oops. Labyrinths, on the other hand, have a single entrance and a single exit. The path winds around, going back and forth in circuits, but always the path leads to the center and out again. This form may be at times confusing and tedious, but there's no chance for error. Only perseverance is required for a labyrinthine journey. The allure and mystic of the labyrinth has fostered scholarly study, poetic musing, and theological interpretation. The maze from which Daedalus created and escaped, according to Greek mythology, was used as a trap by the king to avenge his wife's adulterous affair. The offspring of this affair was the Minotaur, a hideous, half-human, half-bull creature. The ravenous Minotaur was at the center of the maze to devour anyone who journeyed to the center. Youths from neighboring Athens were fed to the Minotaur. 7 young virgins and 7 young men at a time. Sometimes these myths are a little gory, aren't they? But this is as the myth goes. A young man named Theseus was in the third group of youths. When the king's daughter saw Theseus, she fell in love. In spite of his daughter's feelings, Theseus was forced by the king to enter the maze, knowing death would be certain. However, the king's daughter was clever and gave Theseus a ball of yarn just as he entered the maze. He unwound the yarn as he journeyed and followed the thread back out again. After having slain the Minotaur, he had faced death and he had returned to the light of day. In our story this morning, The Paper Bag Princess, it's a version of the same old myth. A princess falls in love, but something horrible happened. The dragon smashed her castle, and then the dragon took her beloved away. Instead of a ball of yarn, a trail of burnt debris guided the princess to the dragon's cave. She challenged the dragon, the story's version of the Minotaur, and found her way out again. The Greek myth continues, and Theseus and the king's daughter did not end up living together, just as the paper bag princess did not marry her beloved. It was not the future either had imagined. Something happened when they had to face their demons. I wonder about the dragons we face in our own lives. What trails do we follow that lead us to the heart of the problem? How we handle our routine struggles and practice runs, if you will, for the epic narratives that we all face. If we avoid conflict by not following the clues to directly face the problems, then the castle just stays burnt down. And our worldview and assumptions remain unchanged. And if we risk facing our issues head on, we might be surprised sometimes at how it opens up possibilities and new ways of being and seeing. The labyrinth is a physical art form, and since the beginning of human history, it has helped us face ourselves. We bring problems large and small to the center, we wrestle with them, and we become wiser on the other side. The pandemic, my friends, is its own kind of labyrinth. So I wonder, during this time of shut down, not shut down, shut down, not shut down, this time of we don't know what's next, we think it's gone and then it's not, What self-truths are you discovering? It's not always easy. Pandemics are deadly dragons, just as dragons are fire-breathing beasts. But if a princess dressed up in a paper bag can outwit her minotaur, I bet we can too. So my question is, what are you facing in this new year? And are you willing to take a labyrinth journey? Blessings to you all and a very happy new year.
Light and darkness, 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 light and darkness.
Thank you to Brandon for singing for us today. Brandon is actually Dr. Brandon Moss. He's wonderful. He's a high school music teacher and our awesome music director here at First UU. And thank you, Brandon, for singing for us. Our church is a community of love, caring, and generosity. Together, we work for a more just world. To offer our gifts and pay our promised pledges is to say we are defined by our hearts and our deeper values. Our Share the Plate recipients for January are two, Pro-Choice Ohio and Faith Choice Ohio. These might sound like new organizations, but both nonprofits have decided to focus on local efforts for reproductive freedom by changing their names. NARAL, Pro-Choice Ohio, is now Pro-Choice Ohio, and Religious Coalition for Reproductive Choice, or Ohio RCRC, is now Faith Choice Ohio. I know that the changes, at least for Ohio RCRC, become effective tomorrow, and I'm on the board, so I am actually proud of that, and they have a new logo and everything. It's awesome to help them get their word out. As we all know, over the last 10 years, there have been more than 30 restrictions on reproductive health care, and in 2022, this coming year, the U.S. Supreme Court will rule on Dobbs versus Jack's Women's Health Organization, which would gut or even overturn Roe versus Wade. Ohioans could lose federal protection to access to legal abortion, and if Senate Bill 123, or a trigger ban, is passed next year, it could criminalize all abortions in Ohio, forcing those who do not have the resources to seek abortion elsewhere. And what this will mean is we have an actual desert for women's reproductive health care in Ohio. The situation is critical. Your support will help ensure Ohioans have a fighting chance to make decisions about their bodies and lives, and every dollar will remain in Ohio to protect reproductive health access in our communities. Thank you for supporting reproductive rights. Please click on the QR code that's on the screen or go to our website, firstucolumbus.org/donate to support our Share the Plate efforts. Your contribution is a tangible way to live our values. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, Nathan. One of the components that makes living with intention easier is to balance body, mind, and spirit. I say easier, but we often find ourselves out of balance. I know I do. And here's a way that I found that helps me integrate knowing with being and doing. So I invite you to first, this is going to be interactive, so first take a deep breath with me. Breathe in and breathe out. Come on up, Sharon. Sharon's one of our pastoral listeners. Breathe in and breathe out. Now practice lifting your hands up as you breathe in, palms up, breathe in, and breathe out, palms facing down. Okay. I learned this long ago as a prayer, as something that we can all do. So as we continue to breathe and lift up, and then breathe out, I'm going to say a few words, and you'll catch on what we're doing. And at the end, I'll give you a chance to put in your thoughts or prayers. As we breathe in, I invite you to lift up the families of all who have lost their homes in Colorado. Our hearts are with them. We lift up caregivers of those who are sick, as well as those who are sick. Our hearts are with you. Keep breathing. We lift up Joey Miller, who's turned 86 on Thursday. We send blessings and love. We lift up Chris J's family. His dad died on Christmas Eve. He was 93. We send our sympathies. We lift up Denise C., who fell and will have surgery on a broken elbow tomorrow. We send our healing energies. We lift up Laura A., who is excited to spend their first winter holiday in their new Columbus home. We celebrate with them. We lift up all the promises of the new year. May there be peace. I invite you to fill in the person or situation that is on your heart as we breathe in again. I lift up. May they find peace. I lift up. May they find peace. Amen. And blessed be. I'll now ring our temple bell, once each for body, mind, and spirit. May we experience the whole of who we are. Anytime and after the service, if you would like, I invite you, if you're here, to walk the Labyrinth. If you're online, you're welcome to come in. The Labyrinth will be set up until noon today. I also encourage you to find a Labyrinth around Columbus area. There are a lot, including outdoor labyrinths. So I invite you to experiment with that and see what you might find out about labyrinths, but also about yourself as you undertake a labyrinthine journey. Wherever you find a labyrinth, and before beginning your walk, or dance, or stroll, or roll, or however you would like to do the labyrinth, I invite you to consider a labyrinth maker, Robert Frere's challenge in his book, Living the Labyrinth. The labyrinth works on so many levels that meets us where we are. At the mouth of the labyrinth, ask, where am I? Enter with expectation of discovering more. Ask, where am I? And let the labyrinth do its magic. Now I invite you, if you have joined us online, to bring your chalice close so that we can extinguish our chalice together. And as I extinguish the chalice, I close with the same words that we opened with. They are so perfect, by T.S. Eliot. We shall not cease from exploration. At the end of all of our exploring, we will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. I invite you to join in singing Return Again.
Return again, return Return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
My friends, Happy New Year. We'll see you online next week.